No countdown. Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? It's your man here, J. Kev, Leif Taylor. Once again, coming before you, having our regular conversation about all things health, wealth, relationships, happiness, everything else in between. You name it, we'll touch on it. Pop culture, WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Invincible, whatever's out there, we'll touch on it. So what's up with you, Leif?
Shit, not much, bro. I'm just trying to get
Just
this stuff
chilling.
shared real quick.
Gotcha. Well, I think one of the things I really wanted to, I guess, start off with is just talk about how essential, how important it is to really do whatever it takes, whatever is necessary, by any means necessary. Do whatever it takes in your life to stay encouraged and inspired and uplifted. And I guess, what's gotten me going this direction is just after having a couple of conversations the last few weeks with just different people, I've just noticed that the difference between those who have ways of coping and those who have outlets, ways of having regular outlets in their life, how they're able to uh, be able to maintain a certain level of encouragement and maintain a certain level of positive outlook on their life versus those who don't have regular outlets and don't have regular ways of just coping and letting and getting through some tough circumstances in their life. So it just
Yeah,
brought me back to one of our core fundamental uh, foundational ideas revolving around the importance of um, coping and having those mechanisms or those best practices in your life that you do on a regular basis that'll help bring you back to a state of peace, help bring you back to a state of contentment, help bring you back to some level of peace and positivity in your life versus having being skewered to one side,
yeah, yeah.
to where you get to the point to where you find yourself just in a constant state of maybe bitterness or in a constant state of negativity, to where you'll find yourself like maybe in your career or whatever you're doing, you get burnt out, or you instead of just stopping and resting, you just kind of just go off the cliff and say I'm done with it. It kind of, as I'm talking, I'm thinking about that meme with the guy with the papers in his hands. He just throws them up. He's like just the heck with it. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know the specific man. It's like a billion memes now. So
Yeah, I mean, there's different versions of the same meme. There's a woman that's doing it. She's like a Leave It to Beaver
yeah, yeah, yeah.
type mom. She's got papers. She's just throwing up in the air. But before you get to that point, I'm sure that you'll have red flags. You'll have moments to where you just have like frustrations, and we have. It's important to have ways of alleviating those frustrations in whatever way you can, in order to keep you from hitting that wall, or you just go off the rails and you're like, what happened to Kevin? Like, I don't know. He just went off the rails. Just one day, he just went off the rails, and we ain't seen him since.
You just started
Um,
walking and it never stopped.
he never stopped, like Forrest Gump running. He
Exactly.
starts running, he's gone. But it just brings me back to how it's important to have those certain things in your life that'll help you. It also brings it back. It brings me back to the importance of how we talk about doing your best to create versus consume, and
Yep.
how we all have something that we can do that that will allow us to express or get out of us. That's what's in us. That'll help us. Man, I'm lost for words. You know what I'm trying to say? To where we're all, where I think human beings are meant to create. And if you don't find yourself creating more than you're consuming, you can find yourself on a bad path, on the wrong path that'll lead you down a road that you won't be happy with. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah. And I would even basically just drill down a little bit further with that in terms of if you aren't creating the things that you desire or the things that you care about, because I know a lot of creatives in the creative space, and quite a few of them get burnt out on creating things for others,
For other people. Yeah.
right? Because it's the frustration of not having the time or the proper outlet to create for themselves. So I think that's part of what burnout is too, is because I was trying to think as you was talking, if people get burnt out doing the things that they love without the pressure of performing, right? And what I mean by that is, do people get burnt out on hobbies as opposed to getting burnt out on the work that they do? You know, because sometimes you may do something you love for work, but if there's like, deadlines, obligations, um,
Mhm.
yeah, various things outside of your control, I think that pressure a lot of times is what causes people to get burnt out because,
Yeah.
you just go so hard at it. Because I know especially in the art space, man, it's almost inevitable that you hit burnout at one point
Yeah.
or another because
Yeah.
you just do so much and you just some people just like, you know what, I'm done. Like, and like you said, walk your way, throw your hands up or whatever. Uh, and sometimes I think it's just bad work conditions can cause that. Uh,
Yes.
I know my wife
Yes.
was telling me not too long ago she was at a she was in line to check out and the guy was like, I'm done. He just took off his phone and
Really?
just walked out. Yeah, he just quit.
Wow.
He just quit on his phone. He's like, oh, okay. Like he just had enough. And so he just left. It was funny. She said he just walked out the door and waited on his ride. So he was there, but he wasn't there. So
Wow.
that kind of stuff happens, man. It's just like sometimes you've had enough, is you get fed up, so to speak. And so that I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah. And again, that brings it brings it back to how we often talk about how it's important to find something that you love to do and to do it to your heart's content. We've talked about play, and we've
Yeah, yeah,
talked about how important it is to find something that you like to do as far as play. And that when you play, time it's like time stops or time
yeah,
flies. When you're having
yeah.
fun and you're playing, you're in the zone, you're in flow, and when you're doing something that is involving just about every aspect of your humanity, you're having fun and you're just in that zone, in that mode. Um, but you could do that, and like you said, if you're lucky enough, if you're blessed to do that as part of your work, um, even then, like you said, the responsibilities and obligations surrounding that can often push you to a place of frustration, a place of, you know what, I'm getting ready to hit this wall.
Yep.
Even though there are people who are lucky, who are blessed enough to do the things that they love to do, like you said, the surrounding uh, structure and of the responsibility and obligations around that can really make that something
Something
to deal with.
Wando.
Hey, what's up, Mwando? Good to hear from you. So yeah, so I just want to start off, with talking about how important it is to encourage yourself, and however you do that, make sure that's done. I was thinking about some ways to do that, and I was just thinking about how in our culture, um, as far as from a religious standpoint, I like to refer to it as rhythms of rest, where we
Mm,
have locked in pillars of way stations, or I guess you could say of oases of peace or oases of rest, or it's like it's a destination, it's an established date that's locked into our time. It's like, hey, sit down, celebrate, and take a break. You know, so just having those rhythms of rest in your schedule and your life and making it a part of every area of your life, that helps. I was thinking about I just purchased a piece of exercise equipment. I brought a squat rack,
Okay.
and
Cool.
and one of the things that pushed me towards that, a couple of things was one my oldest son. You know, he's at that stage now. I can remember that stage when I had my room. I had my little, little weight bench all crammed up in there, getting stuck, get already killed myself, weights resting on my chest, got to
Of
roll
course.
them off, So I, bought a piece of exercise equipment. Another thing that got me thinking about that too is the pandemic and how I guess I was traumatized from the pandemic in that when the gyms closed down, it's like, what are you supposed to do if you don't have that garage with the equipment in it?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like I had the chance to get it, so I went and got it just in case, just to always have it. And that's one of my necessary things that I have,
Outlets.
outlets that I have to have, that I can always go to if I need to
Yeah.
alleviate some frustrations and make sure I don't hit the wall
Yep.
of just throwing my hands in the air.
Yeah, for me it's fighting. Like, I like sparring and things like that. That helps me. I do like I haven't lifted weights in a while. I have like you can see the bar above my head
Yeah,
in the back, I do pull-ups and things like that. But, you know, I get tired of repetitious things, so that's why I like sparring a lot. That helps me. But right now, the thing that I do to relax is the same thing I do for work, which is draw. So, but again, it's obligation free drawing, right?
yeah,
Meaning that it's for nobody, if anything, just but for myself, just to get
for your
ideas
heart's
out.
desire.
Yeah, because again, just talking with a variety of people, I do think it's sometimes just the burden of doing things for someone else is what can pull on you at times. Because what I found in any given industry, the person that's asking you for something when they're not doing it, they always want it rushed.
Mm.
And then when it's their turn to do it, they won't take their time. And so I think just just the stress of those kinds of things can wear on you if you don't manage it properly.
Yeah,
Uh, and so because I often wonder if it's just an I don't want to say just an American thing, but just a business thing. People like, because I wonder if people that just farm for themselves as opposed to like for communities and
produce.
things like that. Yeah. If you just like create solely for yourself, if I lived in, in the Amazon jungle or something, the Amazon forest, do they get burnt out on living in the forest? You know what I'm saying? It's like just stuff like that. I know maybe the kids do if they get exposed to stuff, but outside of
Yeah,
that, do you get does that life just get boring for you?
but if you
Because
don't know of anything else,
no, but that's what I'm saying. It's like,
yeah,
is it just the construct of business? Just the fatigue and the drive and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm just asking. I have no clue.
that, that's teasing. I know. I would assume that a certain percentage of. I'm just looking at this from a sociological perspective, just looking at groups of people
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff. I would assume that no matter where a group of people are, there are a certain percentage of people who, by nature, are get curious and get tired, which prompts them to go out and explore and search out and find other things. That's just talking off the top of my head, just thinking about
yeah,
what he
yeah.
was saying. I would assume that if you get any number of group of people together, that there's going to be a certain number of people who are
No,
by
somebody's gonna
nature,
venture. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Somebody's gonna
somebody's going
venture.
to get tired, like I'm tired of
But I
this, and
mean,
then go venture.
yeah. But is it because they get burnt out, or is it just because they're curious? You see what I'm saying? It could be both. I don't know. I'm just thinking about it. It's like because when I think about getting burnt out on things, a lot of times it revolves around business. It revolves around the pressures of bills. It revolves around just pressure, just outside pressures typically. And that's not to say that you can't just, like, you know what, I've done this long enough, I'm done. you know,
Well, you can,
that's
I
gonna
think,
happen.
yeah, you can apply that to any area of life, no
Yeah,
matter what you're doing. It's like, I'm getting tired of this. Let's see
yeah,
what else we got out there. Yeah, which goes back to what we've talked about a number of times, the importance of implementing on purpose with intention
Natalie.
adventure in your life, some
Yeah,
way, shape, or form, making sure that you get you make room for adventure. It doesn't have to be anything big, and just be something as small as exploring a part of the town or the city that you normally don't see or normally go to. Something as small as that. Um, each and every one of us is free to decide what's adventurous, to us,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then to pursue it.
Different levels
So, I
of
mean,
it.
that's another way of coping, and that's another way of, um, staving off or keeping at bay frustration and keeping at bay going over the cliff and just saying I'm done, burnt out. Which is making me think about sabbaticals, and things and that people do in order to like give themselves some change of pace and give themselves a way of just kind of relieving pressure.
Yeah, I was not to switch the subject, but it just made me think. I had a conversation. I've been having a lot of course, I have conversations all the time. I was
Yeah,
having a lot of conversations
the key of
today.
conversation.
Uh, was talking to a lady who's lived all over different parts of Africa for like 25 years. She's from
Wow.
she's, she's from the States. So I mean,
Yeah.
if you live in a country over there, it's not a big deal. But the fact that she went over there, she left, and she said 88, and just she became a humanitarian. So she was like on the ground, like she goes into hostile territories to help the people,
Really.
and yeah. And so you talking about just different desires. We were talking about certain personalities desire certain things, and she was so used to being in those scenarios that she didn't like being in calm places, because usually
Yeah.
like what they do is like if you go into like a war torn country or anything like that, after you spent done your duty there, they'll put you somewhere where it's peaceful, so you read she was like she wasn't feeling it, but then she had family, and then the family dynamics changed to where you got different personalities, and then you got to think differently based on the comforts of your family versus yourself, and and just you talking about just the different aspects of groups. And I was thinking about it for myself, like I have kids, and what I would tolerate, I don't know if they could deal with.
Yeah.
So you always have to concede sometimes to the attitudes and the philosophies of other people, because not everybody thinks the same way.
It's like the world, your house could be on fire, and ladies is sitting there just steadily doing away.
Yeah,
House is on fire. Everybody's running around.
I tend not to panic. It's just not my personality. So yeah, I think it's just personality types. Like certain things, I just get more calm. Like just because. So I don't know.
Yeah. So she's been doing it for 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
And what made her do that?
Uh, well, for her in particular, she said she was just fed up with the United States. This is a black
Really?
lady, yeah, and she left like after the whole Rodney King incident went down. She's like, I'm done, and she bounced.
Wow.
Yeah, she just said she just left. She said she didn't take nothing with her. She just got her passport and dipped and gone, like
For
just gone.
25 years.
Yep,
And she found her life's work, her life's
yep,
calling,
yep,
going into places doing humanitarian work.
yep.
But that's amazing.
Yeah, it's like because she just left. She didn't have a plan. She said she just found it. So and so
Where
she
it
has
found
like
her.
that. Yeah, she has that explorer, type.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's definitely a type A because we were talking. I was like, yeah, I recognize type A's, and so I was like, yeah, I could just
But
tell.
that takes a lot of courage and faith too, as well, just to know that everything's going to work out no matter what.
Yeah, with her in particular, she said that for herself, uh, she just she said she was just fearless. Like that's why it didn't bother her going into like Sierra Leone, the Sudan, and places like that. So that just didn't bother her. She just wasn't afraid because again, one of the things we talked about was she didn't panic. So she was like, fear makes you do a lot of weird things, which I know that's why I don't panic on purpose because I know that it could be life or death in any given situation. Just getting frantic and panicky can result in a life or death situation, even if it's not a life or death scenario,
Yeah,
right? And so I pretty much think that same way. And she said, a lot of times the path was easy to get out of danger, but when you panic,
you
you don't
don't
see
see it.
clearly. Yeah, you don't see clearly. You don't react in the right way. So you become a victim of your own psychosis, so to speak.
Which speaks to the importance of having those, being able to um, having practiced. If you're not one of those type of persons by nature, having practiced those things that we talk about as far as having outlets and stuff, so you're not in a highly agitated or highly emotional state to
Yeah.
where your emotions uh, do have a higher propensity to get away from you.
Yeah,
You know
and,
what I
and the
mean?
hard and just to throw a monkey wrench in that because I remember this years ago when I used to take like safety and first first aid classes in college, and I found it to be true as well because she mentioned something similar, and I had a similar situation. Is that when it's just me, I'm good,
Yeah.
fine. Don't nothing bothers me if I get like the time I had my legs split open. I didn't panic. I didn't scream. I didn't yell. I just
Hmm.
stopped the bleeding and waited for the ambulance. But on the other hand, I remember there was a time when my daughter she dropped the glass on her foot and it cut her foot and it was bleeding. It's like I almost didn't, I was like, okay, I had to purposely calm myself down to deal with it because I wasn't used to seeing my kids injured or hurt or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah.
So, because I remember my safety and first aid instructor, he was like one of those, woodsman Bear Grylls type dudes. And he said, yeah, I can go through anything. He said, but when my kid got sick, he said, man, I was falling apart. So you got to be careful because like loved ones and things like that can definitely strain your emotions and strain your reactions. So you just have to be mindful of that and purposely calm yourself in those kind of scenarios.
Man, yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. I think about those things often, and like you said, I have to make sure. Like I find myself constantly doing things to practice.
Yep.
Hopefully,
Yep.
earlier I was thinking, man, I hope I don't have to uh, take this practice to game time. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
in
No,
life,
seriously.
yeah, in life, you just never know.
Say prepare
Um,
for the worst, hope for the best, right?
hope for the best, yeah. So, so yeah. So, have you been doing your martial arts and karate lately?
Uh, yeah, but due to COVID protocols, it's
Yeah,
just different. Like so we've been practicing outside, and so it's not sparring or anything because like we're practicing on the basketball courts. But if it rains, we don't go. It's
yeah.
just
Just hit and
awkward.
miss.
Plus, yeah, plus we have weird weather here. It can be sunny one day and then
The
snowing the
frost.
next.
Yep.
Yeah, just weird stuff. So that's definitely changed things. And then of course you got to always think about safety. And,
Well,
and
maybe you should do the UFC with Dana in Florida.
oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna catch COVID there. Like it was a hotbed, boy. They were having fights like it was 2019. So, but yeah, man, it's just different, and just like anything else, you just adjust,
Yeah.
figure out other means. Um, yeah. So I haven't done a lot of stuff. Anytime it gets cold, for me personally, I don't
It's a
go
wrap.
outside. Yeah, it's a wrap. I'm at the point where I hate cold weather. I don't care.
You
I'm
just
not going
just
out.
I say that all the time, but I just wrap up and just go on, just wrap up and
Nah,
go
I just
on
stay
in
in. Stay in is way easier.
it.
Staying
So
in the house.
to the audience, what's some things or one thing that you all do to cope and keep your frustrations at bay, to kind of keep everything contained, so that you don't go over the edge or don't go over the cliff. As I'm thinking about this movie I just watched with oh, I think it's Russell Crowe.
Okay.
Who's the dude who played Gladiator?
Yeah, Russell Crowe.
Yeah, he had to put on some weight for this movie to where he was like
Yeah,
he
cop.
was like no, he was a psycho killer in this
Okay.
movie
Thanks, yeah.
where a woman cut him off in traffic,
Oh,
and
gotcha, gotcha.
he and just the whole
Meditation.
movie was about
What,
him
what,
going
what,
after this woman.
what kind of meditation do you do, Natalie? So she said she copes with meditation.
Yeah, I mean
There's
that's
different
become one of
forms.
the I think that's become one of the biggest and one of the most
Oh, cool.
prevalent and popular means and methods that today that's being backed up by
Yeah.
science. There's been a lot of research and stuff that's come out about meditation and the power of meditation. It's funny, she brought up meditation. She says regular acupuncture appointments. I haven't done acupuncture. I was thinking about trying it one time just to see,
Yeah, so I got a buddy that just started. He said he loves it. He's getting it for his back pain. I probably need something from sitting in this chair all day. So,
yeah.
but yeah. Anyway, what you're talking about with the science backing up meditation?
Oh yeah, meditation being one of the practices that you'll find across just about all cultures. That's a practice that helps with um, your spirituality, your spiritual walk. And when I say
Gotcha.
spiritual, I'm simply saying
Generic term.
increasing,
Yeah.
increasing your awareness and also your connection with uh, the spiritual realm, the invisible. When I say spiritual, I mean the realm beyond our realm
Yep.
that is now coming out. Science is talking about other dimensions and things that exist, also, beyond more than what we can actually see. And meditation being one of the things that makes us more sensitive to our perception, reception, and also our awareness of the spiritual realm and our connection with it. And he just
Yep.
talks about um, this idea of morphic resonance, and just talking about how did I say his name?
Mhm.
Rupert, I think it's Sheldrake.
Okay.
He's got a couple of books out, and I was listening to a couple of his talks, and he was talking about the idea of interconnections between organisms and collective memories within species, and accounts of phantom limbs and how dogs know where their owners are coming. And basically, he's just talking about how the electromagnetic fields and stuff exist
Yep.
around us that
Yep.
we can't
Yep.
see. How meditation is one activity that allows us to connect to that, to those fields that exist invisibly around us. And in those fields, you'll have the collective memories of people that have lived and existed before us. We often talk about things like uh, the memories of our ancestors and those who have come before us. And these are, and really, he's just breaking down scientifically these things that we often talk about in vague terms.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like uncovering or removing a little bit of the veil as far as getting into the specifics and details of how this stuff actually happens. Um, so
Yeah.
meditation is one of those things that I don't know if anybody listening has experienced it, to where when you meditate on a regular basis, you do become sensitive and more aware of thoughts that are drifting through your brain, or that you're drifting through your mind, you know necessarily that you're not thinking, and you're aware
Right.
that it's not your thoughts that's kind of coming through. Um, you become more aware and sensitive to that.
Yeah, I could see that from the standpoint of just paying more attention,
Yeah,
like being in the moment kind of thing.
that's
Uh,
it.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's what he's talking about, but I just think about, sometimes, and again, I always say stuff from the standpoint of I'm an American. I think like my surroundings in a sense. And so
Right,
I don't know if it's a necessity, like in terms of the way we have to purposely do stuff a lot of times to get
right.
away from the hustle and bustle of the fast pace and all of that kind of stuff, just to slow
Yeah,
down and breathe. We talked about grounding, like getting, putting your feet in the earth and all of that kind of stuff. Uh,
yeah,
you know, in some places that's just life, and and
yeah.
here it's
That's
like,
what we
us
do.
lifting weights is like, because we really don't, like most
Work
people I know you do, like we don't do
on
physical
labor.
work. Yeah, and so you have to now artificially, in a sense, add weights and what real work is scientifically, mass times force
Yeah,
times distance and all of that kind of stuff. And so it just makes me think about that. It's like, we strip away a lot of who we are, and then we have to find artificial ways
artificial.
to replace the stuff we stripped away. so so
Yeah,
I, so I think about that. Yeah, it's like just taking time. We talk about like journaling for me is a form of meditation when I do it,
yeah.
and just thinking, just stopping, just like some days when I wake up, I just purposely just sit in the bed and not move, just so I can think before I get up and get going.
That's a
You
form
know.
of meditation. It's a form
Yeah.
of just taking, some time for yourself. How often does the average person really just take the time just to sit around and like think their own thoughts? I mean, I can remember
Yeah.
when I was younger, when the stuff we're talking about now, and if me now started talking to my old me the way I'm talking now, I'd be like,
Weirdo.
yeah. Like, what's this guy talking about? Talking crazy. Shut
Oh,
up, man.
weirdo.
Yeah. But there was times where you don't get where you just like you get up, you go, and you don't stop. You come back home,
Yeah.
you go to sleep, and you repeat. And he's like, is there more to life? You have to ask those questions.
Yeah.
Things happen in your life to where it really prompts you to stop for a minute and ask those questions, like what's really important. What really matters. What's going to really make a difference and impact on not only my life, but those who come after me. I think having kids and
Yeah, of course.
marriage
It
and some of
forces
those,
you. It forces
yeah,
you some, but not everybody, but it forces me,
yeah,
to think about the concerns of others and things like that. Natalie said exactly, when you meditate, you become familiar with your organic thoughts versus those that come from external stimuli. Yeah.
yeah. We talked about this all the time. It's
Yep.
like you really, when you meditate and you really start going down this path of journaling and really trying to
Yeah.
really do some critical thinking, is like, wait a minute, I haven't really been thinking for myself,
Yeah.
for a
No,
long time.
that's the conclusion you come to, right? Because I always think about the thing that made me like take a deep dive in psychology, in terms of because it was a conversation you and I were having one time, and it was about breakfast, right? And I was like, where does
Yeah.
breakfast food come from? Because I hate breakfast. Like, I hate American breakfast. I don't know if I'm traumatized as a kid when my mom would have breakfast for dinner type stuff. I hate all things breakfast. Uh, so uh,
We talked
so for
about
me,
Edward Bernays.
yeah, and but I came across an article, like I asked that question, and then an article, I just randomly read it, and it talked about the origins of breakfast, and that just made me start, going down the rabbit hole of the whole Edward Bernays thing, and mixing marketing with psychology and all of that kind of stuff. And I read the Charles Duhigg book, and I started just getting a bunch of books on like psychology, why we think the way we think. I was watching documentaries, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, bringing up Edward Bernays. um, I was thinking about him just this past week, where I was just listening to a documentary about him, and uh, I didn't realize, or I didn't know that. Okay, I knew that Edward Bernays was the nephew of
Yeah, weirdo
Sigmund
Freud.
Freud. Yes, but one of the co-founders of Netflix is a great
Yeah, I saw that.
nephew of Edward Bernays.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Or is it? I mean, we
exactly.
start when you start tracing a lot of lineage of a lot of prominent people in some of these companies and stuff, it makes you think.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, that's
so
powerful.
just seeing the how powerful and influential Netflix has become. You can't tell me. I mean, you can't tell me that
Just
the
random.
co-founder, his background, his lineage, his pedigree is not affecting, you know, the shaping and formation, or has affected the shaping and formation of Netflix, and then how it affects the masses. You know
No,
what
of
I'm saying?
course. I mean, yeah, I mean, it just on the one hand, it makes sense because that's why people get pedigrees. That's why people get prominent so they can pass it down, right? They can pass down influence, they can pass down money, they can pass down networks, all kinds of things, right? So yeah,
Yes.
it doesn't surprise me. So do you have a morning or nightly routine, Kev?
Any daily morning right routine? Yeah. I'm the king of routines, I guess you could say.
Routine
uh,
king.
it's in my nature. I was born this way, as far as routines and structure, to the point to where those who witness it, they think it's otherworldly. Like if you talk, I don't know if you and Gus, has Gus said anything? I know he said some things.
Of course, Gus gonna say something regardless.
But as far as like waking up at a certain time, and like making sure I have space in the morning, at night, and also at night, as far as like when you talk about meditation and having those space, that giving myself that space to actually think, um, exercise, making sure that that's structured in my life. Uh, I kind of fallen off as far as like stretching, doing some
Yeah, yeah.
mobility work, things like that. So yeah, I have a morning and nightly routine. If you look at my stories on my Facebook or Instagram, you can see.
Yeah,
If you look
the
through my timeline and stuff, you can
yeah, yeah,
see.
yeah. Yep. Sunrise, morning sunrise, and all of that
Yeah,
kind of stuff.
kind of my
So,
morning affirmations, my morning of encouraging and positive thinking to help encourage myself. Things like
uh,
that.
so my daily routine is working.
Just
uh,
working.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I have a routine. It varies just depending. So, like, I broke up my routine today as an anomaly, and I'm wondering if I can maintain the same routine going forward. So yesterday, like at family gathering, for a funeral, and
Yeah,
afterwards, like I was exhausted. Like I barely got any sleep before that because I didn't change my routine the night before, even though I said I was. So I normally don't go to bed till like 7 or 8 in the morning. I end up going to bed at 5 and getting up at 8, and yeah, and so I went the whole day, and by the time like almost 11, I was done. I was like, I can't think. I gotta go to sleep. So I woke
yeah,
up extremely early, but I'll probably end up being up late again, but just because it's part of my routine. But before I do go to bed, I do one thing. I just like just zone out. Like I'll play like a mobile game before I go to bed every night. I'll play like solve some chess puzzles, do some word puzzles, and go to sleep. That's literally my routine. I get into bed, I just do the puzzles just so I can relax, bring my mind down,
yeah,
so I'm not, thinking about work or thinking about doing stuff. Because if I do, then I won't go to sleep. I'll just stay up and keep working. And so for me, that's part of my wind down, right? Just making sure that all the lights are off, just having that time to just zone out and get ready for bed. And that usually takes about 15 to 20 minutes every night. The morning, sit and think. It just depends because I stopped journaling on purpose just because, and just to see if I would get the same routine out of just thinking about the things as opposed to writing them down. Um,
What do you think?
I don't know. Like I think about what I'm gonna journal, even though I don't journal. God, I know like the habit of writing is part of it, right? But
Yes.
but for me, it's just like just I literally consciously just go through what I'm journaling in my head, even though I don't physically get on the computer and do it. So I don't know.
I've done it both. I've been there as far as what you're saying, as far as actually writing it down. And then I've been there
Yeah,
to where like you literally think about what you're going to journal, and you think, or I think that I have it
yeah,
so crystallized as if
yeah,
I
yeah.
had written it. And for me, what I'm finding is that when I stop writing, I notice that my ability to do maintain that over time diminishes.
Yeah, yeah,
And now
yeah.
I'm at the
It's just
point to
breaking the
where,
routine of it, the habit.
yeah, well, just that, and I think it's like if you don't use it, you lose it type of thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
To where just like just for example, I'm thinking about how I used to on a weekly, by couple of times a week, regular basis talk, you know. And
Yeah,
now I
yeah.
notice that the less that I do that, my
The hesitancy to
ability,
do it. Yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
it's diminishing. And I'm
yeah.
noticing like, man, I really have to like really pick that back up so much so that I might have to like for 90 days do a crunch of where I'm doing it obsessively so that I think I can get back to the level I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
where I think I should be. So
yeah, yeah.
Natalie says I read The Compound Effect and is really got me thinking about how I can create more rituals and automate as much as I can in my home and work. Yes, I love what's that? The Compound.
Yeah, the compound effect.
Yeah, we've talked about that book a couple of times, and the couple of main ideas that we got out of it is talking about automation and
Yep.
routine and implementing some practices and habits in your life to the point where they're habit and you don't have to think about it. So I guess it goes back is she the one that asked the question
What?
about
So
our
the one
routines?
guy who's I'm trying to look him up. The
Hardy.
Busi Timbaquayo, the guy I sent you a video earlier. His name is Vusi
Yep.
Timbaquayo, and one of
Yep.
the things he talked about when Natalie asked that question, it made me think about him, and he was saying starting is the most important thing. Uh,
Yes.
so that way, he used the analogy of pushing a car. Like, when you start off pushing the car, that's the hardest part. And once you get it going, just maintaining its speed in terms of pushing it, it is just easy because you got momentum behind it. And so, in terms of like the compound effect, the single biggest hurdle is going from 0 to 1. In
Yes.
terms of starting, and that'll help you build the necessary momentum uh, to keep going. Because one thing I know, like speaking of Forrest Gump, we talked about him earlier. Sometimes I just get like he was when he just stopped running. He said, "Oh, why'd you stop running? I'm done." And he just quit and walked away. So sometimes like I would advise like whatever it is you're trying to start, think about why you're doing it. Because for me, like I still think about my push-up schedule. I went 286 straight days of doing push-ups every morning, and then one day I just didn't. And it was the end of it. I was just like, okay, I'm done. Same way when I went vegetarian the first time when I went for 5 years. And I was like, one day I was like, I'm gonna eat a burger, and that was the end of it. It was just
Dang.
no rhyme or reason. It was just like I'm just done. And so, which goes
But
back to the original conversation.
did it when you started out? Did you just start out with small um, small little choices or small little actions, or you just went full force right into
I'm
it?
like a motor axon. I'm all or nothing. Like
Gotcha.
I just go. I don't graduate into it. it's just my personality. Like I just have to just do it, and I don't give myself a reason not to do it. If that makes sense, I don't give
Yeah.
myself an excuse not to do it. Um, so I mean, think I've been a vegan now for almost 11 years now. It's just I just don't
It's
stop
just,
doing it.
yeah.
It's like there's no formula for me, but it's in certain things and other things. It's like, okay, just get going and try and just keep
Right.
pushing it. It
Right.
just depends,
Just
like,
depends.
yeah, it's certain
Well,
things
I was
I have an
just
affinity for.
I was just bringing it up because one of the ideas about the main ideas of the compound effect is the principle of reaping huge rewards from a series of small smart choices.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, just taking some small consistent action over a long period of time that adds up. What we often talk about. Brick by brick.
Yep.
Day by day, moment by moment, and next thing you know, you have a wall, a house, and a whole
Yeah.
village.
But that's actually how I started off doing art. I started art that way. It was like, okay, just let me get something going, right? So it was like a sketch. I was like, I'll start with a sketch, and I'll just do another sketch, and I'll do another sketch, and another sketch. Because I always think back, like when I talk to people trying to start something or start like something that they want to do. Because of course I talk to a lot of artists because that's where I'm focused right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What can I do?" And I'm like, "Just start. Just put it out there." I used to put the crappiest drawings I did, posted on social media. I didn't have no followers, and I would just keep posting,
That's
and
the
that
best
was
time to
it.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah, I would just keep posting, and over time, I went from just because I posted nothing but sketches. I didn't do anything other than sketches. Just to get in the habit. But once I got in the habit of doing sketches on the regular, it's like, okay, let me take it a step further. It's like, okay, maybe let me make it look better, because it don't look right, and then it's like, okay, let me refine that, because I wasn't trying to. I knew if I focused a tremendous amount of time in doing like a picture, I would stop, like, because I would get bored. I used to get bored with pictures, and so that's why I don't like realism pictures. I used to do that type stuff, when I was a kid, and I love the results of it. But I started doing the math, and I'm like, okay, I can spend 10 hours on one image, or I can do some graphics and make way more money, doing the
Just
graphics than I
churning it
can
out.
doing the drawing. So I had to change my mindset and the way I thought about doing stuff. And yeah, so that was definitely a compound effect for me in terms of art and the things that I do around art. And it really doesn't take long to accumulate a skill set. It doesn't take long to accumulate works. Just things
But it
like,
feels like it
yeah,
sometimes.
because you're starting off from nothing. Like
And
that's the biggest chasm. Because
I'm in
like
that
that's
I'm
it.
in that
That's
process.
infinite.
I'm in
Yeah.
that process right now where I guess I'm literally implementing or have been implementing the compound effect when it comes to learning about crypto. I got
Right.
fed up with this whole, crypto rage that I've been reading and coming across as far
Yeah.
as online on my timeline. So I decided last last summer when I seen where Bitcoin was like at a couple, it was like at 14,000 or something
Yep. Yep. Yep.
at the beginning of last year. And now look at it at like 50, 60. And I just got fed up. I was like, I cannot miss this.
Ain't taking no more.
Yeah, whatever's happening, whatever's going on, I need to at least learn about what's happening and throw in my dollar or penny or whatever I can throw in there to see what I can make happen. So after last summer around October, I just little by little been learning as much as I can. YouTube,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
all the free nuggets that people are dropping online on the social media and stuff, just taking that and just researching it for myself. And I guess, little by little, things are starting to add up and things are slowly becoming more clear. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just that's the most recent example of, I guess, me implementing the compound effect as far as in my life that somebody just threw out. That is an example of taking small, consistent actions that over time is really being leveraged into something that could be, could be more than if I hadn't participated at all. What does Natalie say? I think a crypto group is how I found out about you guys and Lamar Wilson.
Yeah, it's probably through the Black Crypto Group. Yeah, because actually, what's funny is we started the same time because I used to do all the videos with Lamar. I was never on the screen. I was always on the back end doing stuff until we started doing it together. But yeah, and so even like with investing or just anything really, if you have enough interest to get started, then just literally start there.
But like you were talking about, the feeling of just knowing that you're a baby at it. It just sucks.
But you're gonna be a baby at anything new, and that's so that's the mindset that I take at it, right? And it's just like, okay, everybody started somewhere. Some people started further ahead, some people started further behind, but they started. That's it. They just started. And as far as I'm concerned, there's always something that you can get a hold of. There's always, new industries that'll rise. There's always something new that you can do, because I don't even like sweat like if I miss out on an opportunity. I personally don't, right? Because
because of your mindset.
Yeah, I just look at it like for what it is, and it's like, okay, regardless. For example, I always tell people about, like, they're like, how do you eat the way you do, right? And I always liken it to the standpoint of, it's like, I was like, name all your favorite foods, right? And then they'll go through a list of their favorite foods. And I was like, so you may like cake, you may like pie, you may like, all these different things. So if I get full off a cake, I don't care how much pie you ate, because I'm satisfied, right? Because I'm focusing on what I have in front of me. I'm focusing on what I'm doing. And so for me, when it comes to new ways of making money or all of that kind of stuff, I honestly don't care. Like, that's me. I can't speak for nobody else. I know people diversify in a variety of different ways, but for me, if I don't care about it, I just don't care about it. Like, straight up, I don't care. Like, if it's a cause that I'm not backing, like, I don't care. Like, I'm and it's not to be that I'm heartless about it.
Yeah, I know. It's
like, because you have to pick your lanes, right?
Yeah.
You have to be able to pick your lanes, and you have to dive deep on something. And if my passion is not for a certain thing, I don't care about how deep others dive in that area. Fine, that's awesome. You can be my consultant, but this is where my lane is focused. Like, seriously, because you can't be an expert at everything, right?
Yeah,
because there's always going to be something you miss out on. And so that's the way I just look at it, because it keeps me from panicking. Because again, when you start trying to play catch up, that's when you run into Ponzi schemes, you run into all kinds of things, because you're trying to shortcut the process, right? There's always some way to shortcut something, but most people want to go from A to Z in an instant, and that's not how it works. Like, rarely, if anything, on this planet works that way, unless you're just lucky that somebody chose you, right? Like, a lot of these Bitcoin early guys, people chose them. They didn't choose themselves. Somebody chose them to be like, it's like, okay, I'm gonna make this guy rich, and they'll just give it to him, right? And so I'm very well aware of those kinds of instances, so I don't get panicky over like, oh man, I'm gonna miss out on this, or I'm gonna miss out on that. No, do what you can and just go from there.
So it helps you keep FOMO at bay.
Yeah, fear of missing out, like, and again, think healthily about it. Like, some things, like some things, like my wife, like, yeah, maybe you should think about that. I'm like, I don't care about it. I'll just throw a little bit of money over there, because I don't personally care.
Right.
And again, you just risk what you can lose and don't sweat it. It's like, I remember a man, He told me years ago when I used to work at this company, he said, hey, he said, he thought about buying a boat. And the guy's like, he said, okay, I want you to take a wad of money. He said, if you can't take a wad of money and throw it over a bridge, you don't need a boat. Right. And so it's just that kind of mindset that it's like, are you willing to, risk it all, so to speak? Are you willing to risk certain things? And so I've always been extremely practical in some respects, but in other respects, I'll risk it all. Right. And so you just got to know what your tolerance is. And you can even build up your tolerance by slowly doing stuff. Right. And then, as past the Larry Wilson, you say, just have skin in the game. When you put skin in the game, then you'll at least have enough in there to start learning.
Yes.
Right? You won't learn overnight. Yeah. Right. You'll have incentive. And so you won't learn overnight, but you can learn slowly. You can learn gradually. And then you'll realize that you're still ahead of the curve. And people don't think that way because they're always looking ahead at the person that has more. And as long as you're doing that, you're going to miss out on the opportunities that are in front of you. Don't focus on what somebody else has. There's always going to be somebody that has more. And
so focus on your lane.
Yeah, and because you have to, right? I remember reading this article years ago. It was a woman that I want to say it was Angie's book or something like that. She said she never felt more broke than when she got money.
Dang.
Yeah, she said she sold her company like for $14 million. The money went to her. She said, I felt poor because I knew a guy that had hundreds of millions, right? Because you start changing your demographic. It's like, oh, it's like the big fish, small pond. It's like, what if you get uprooted from that pond and you get thrown in the ocean? And it's like, oh, now I feel like, these people take up more water than I do, right? And so you just have to be, practical about it and think about it and really, just take the emotion out of it. If you take the emotion out of it, you'll actually do what you need to do. You'll make the progress that's necessary. You'll it's like you can't dwell on the past because you can't change it. So for the most part, there's only been a few times where something happens and I'll be extremely upset after the fact. But for the most part, after it's done, it's done. You can't change it. And you just say, okay, this is new ground zero. How am I going to move from ground zero to get where I want to go?
Now, you're hitting on a lot of things. You're hitting on the importance of, number one, having an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset.
Yep.
And then you're hitting on the importance of being grateful and just being thankful for where you are while contemplating and reflecting about the past and just being able to accept it and let it go and accept where you are at the present, knowing that with the abundance mindset that you can change your trajectory and you have the power to.
Because this stuff is gradual anyway.
Yeah.
So like one of the things that changed, when we were talking about burnout, like, one of the things that changed for me, we've talked about this plenty of times, is when I realized I couldn't rush the process of anything. I was like, you know what? Because like I used to work way harder than what I work now in terms of hours and nonstop and no sleep and all of that kind of stuff. That's why I gained so much weight back, years ago, because I knew that like your brain burns so many calories, right? Because I know too much. It's like your brain burns so many calories. So if you want to stay up and be productive, you got to feed your brain calories. You got to, because I used to watch like the most dangerous catch, whatever. And the way that those men stayed on the fishing boat the way they did is because they fed themselves tons of calories. Because otherwise you'll get too fatigued and you won't be able to make it. And so I used to, just stay up nonstop grinding, trying to make things happen and all of this kind of stuff. And literally when it got to the point where it's like, you know what, we're just going to slow down. We're not going to force it. We're not going to do anything. And stuff just started popping, just started happening. It's the same approach I'm taking now with this whole animation stuff. I'm not rushing it, just taking my time, and opportunities are coming because I'm just taking my time. I'm taking my time. I'm being mindful of everything going on. I'm cultivating better relationships and all of those kinds of things. It's not just what can you give me or anything like that. It's like, no, I'm in no rush. So I can just talk to you without trying to scheme something from you.
Yeah, right? People feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't want anything from you. I just want, information, maybe, your knowledge and, just
make a connection.
of the opportunity, you know, just to share. And it's like, you know, how can I help you? You know, I'm willing to help you, you know, whatever. And just those kinds of things, like, it makes a difference, man. Like, you know, I can't speak for anybody else. I can only
No,
speak for what is done for me. You know,
I can
whether it comes
identify with that.
yeah.
When I was, you know, when I used to be in kind of like a little sales, I was in sales a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
I noticed that when I cultivated um, the attitude of service
Yeah.
versus the attitude of what can I get from you, I noticed that repelled people. But when it was more of, hey, how can I help you? What can I do for you?
Yeah.
Sincerely and with, you know, authentic about it, and it just, like you said, it just made things easier, and it attracts people to you.
Yeah, it's a ministry mindset, right? You know, ministry is literally servitude. That's
Yeah,
it. You're just voluntarily serving other people, and that's the thing about it. You voluntarily do it, then it's not forced. You know, you're not acting out of character. You know, you can just be you. You know, that's one thing I perfected is being me. I'm gonna be me in every scenario. You know, get the guy with the cap and the hoodie or whatever. It's just gonna be me. Whatever meeting I have, it's gonna be the same length.
that's a
And so
mature. That's maturity right there. You know, when you're younger,
yeah,
you want to be
it's that
everybody
and
else
just
but
getting
you.
old, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like it's like I'm just too crotchety to change. But yeah, man, it's like just stuff like that, you know, it just makes life better. Yeah, it's like, you know, the people you come in contact with, you know, you find yourself not at odds with a lot of people. And that's not to say that, you know, there's not jerks or weirdos or crazy people in the world, because they still
right,
exist. But
right.
I mean, you take
You
your time.
architect, you design
Yeah,
your
you
life
take
in
your
such a way
time
that
and
you
just like,
minimize,
okay, yeah.
yeah, and you mitigate
Like
that.
certain people, it's like, you know what, I can rock with them. You know, just certain things. You know, you just, you know, see people, see what they're doing, see what they talk about. You know, if you vibe with it, you vibe with it. If you don't, you don't. You just keep it moving. So
Hmm. Well, you want to stop here?
do whatever you want, bro.
All right. Hope you guys enjoyed and, you know, got some nuggets that you could take home with you and chew on for a bit. We definitely appreciate you. We don't take your time and attention for granted. Hopefully, you got some kind of return on your investment. Two Shot Guys in the mic, J. Kev and Leif Taylor here, just talking about all things under the sun, health, wealth, relationships, and happiness. We just talked about, so we started off talking about the importance of encouragement and encouraging yourself. And as always, we take a journey and we go down a few different trails,
Of
and
course.
we, of course, that's us. That's Two Shot Guys in the mic. You never know. You never know where you're going to start and where you're going to finish. So we talked about the importance of cultivating a heart of gratitude and a mindset of abundance.
Yep.
Just realizing, you know, that there's always going to be opportunities available, and that you don't have to rush. Trust the process, and don't be afraid to start at zero and to look ugly, because you can go from that ugly duckling to a beautiful swan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Except for J. Kev, they say. All right, that's all we got. Peace out. We definitely enjoy you. Hit like, share, and just let us know what you think.
Yep. I'll be on Mr. Don Terrell's podcast tomorrow, just talking about the art industry and my current journey. So if you can, I posted it in the comments. Definitely tune in. I'd love to hear your feedback or whatever. And until then, peace.
Peace.